The top video is a white-faced capuchin monkey. On the right are some sultator, or a sultator, and some tanagers on a bird feeder at San Vito, and at the bottom is an anhinga trying to eat a fish. This is my wildlife watching vlog for my trip to Costa Rica in 2013, which I am now recording the voiceover for this video like 4 years later, because I've got lots of new wildlife watching vlogs coming out, and this was my kind of test video. And I thought about throwing it away, and then I was like, well, actually, I think there's lots of good photos and videos in here. I'm just going to go for it. Okay, so talking of going for it, everything's going to pop in and out of the map so you can see where the action's happening. This, by the way, is a laughing falcon. So this is my backpacking trip around Costa Rica. I started on the Osa Peninsula. I did a kind of route around the country, all using public transport, or using good value, cheap hostels, and seeing lots of wildlife. I was really excited to do this for various reasons. I ended up in Costa Rica and I had the time, and it got me back into travelling, which I used to do a lot when I was younger. This is a golden-naped woodpecker, which I saw in the town of Dos Brazos. Dos Brazos, I think that's one of the first of the many good backpacking destinations I found for wildlife watching. The wildlife kind of spills out of Corcovado National Park, and it's one of the places you can see a lot of it. I then went to San Vito. There's Las Cruces, which is one of the really popular eco lodges. I managed to find somewhere else to go instead, which was a lot cheaper. Go to my blog to find out a lot more. Here we go, and the owner of the sort of accommodation put up this bird feeder. I was seeing loads of things. This is just in the garden. I found walks from there. Why would you go to San Vito? Well, the reason is because you get different birds on each side of the main mountain range that across the centre of Costa Rica. This is a silver-throated tanager, by the way. So on the right of the mountains you get some birds, and on the left of the mountains you get some others, because a lot of them won't cross the mountains. So bird watching holidays often go to both sides of the mountains just so you can see more different things. Oh, this is an agouti. I saw a lot of agouti at Las Cruces. I was stretching my budget. I was stretching my backpacking budget and paying the day rate to go to Las Cruces, so I still saw lots of things without actually having to stay there. Including this snake. Woo! And then we're going to see a picture of a crested goon in a moment. Yeah, so San Vito just ends up being one of those places that a lot of these tours goes to. One of the reasons is it's just very convenient for seeing some higher elevation birds. You see different birds at different elevations. It's all very complicated. I'm going to stop talking about it. If that interests you, go and check out my blog. I'll talk about it a lot more there. Because there's all, anyway, blah blah. Oh, this is an Apollo, but this is, no, it's not. It's a morpho butterfly. Wow, about to see a video of it. Morpho butterflies, you can you see them all over the Americas. Costa Rica, they're famous, bright blue, and a lot of people on holiday in Costa Rica are desperate to see one. I was typically seeing like 2 or 3 a day if I wasn't in the middle of a town, and if I was in a more remote place I might get a better view compared to sort of being somewhere busier. Oh, I then went to Vito, which is another budget backpacking destination, and I picked it because it's a rural town and there's lots of opportunities to go walking. This is a snowy egret that I saw on the beach, and in a moment we'll see some western sandpipers that I saw on the beach. Uvita, I think, is a fantastic place for a budget birdwatcher. You can do essentially free walks. I saw a lot. I got a very high species count of lots of different birds, partly because there's such a variety of habitats, and partly because Costa Rica, just like everywhere else in the world, as long as you're not going somewhere that is a city, and as long as you're not going somewhere with too intensive agriculture, where the agriculture isn't too intensive. So avoid cities, avoid intensive agriculture. Oh, this is roadside hawk. Now that's actually a bit of an ask in a lot of places, so you often can't do this, but if you can go somewhere else where there isn't intensive agriculture, it's not a city, you can see, my experience is you see a lot of wildlife. Because the wildlife, no one's told this roadside hawk that it's not a nature reserve. And it's like, oh, where's the nature reserve? I better go to the nature reserve. So you can still see things. And above Uvita, I found some really good patches of rainforest. And I mean, it was more patchy, but I was still seeing a lot of things similar to what you might see at Parque Nacional Carrera. So let's now look at Parque Nacional Carrera, or Carrera National Park. I started saying it's bad Spanish for some reason there. This is definitely, or so many birdwatchers talk about this place. It's very, very popular. If you ask a keen birdwatcher who knows about Costa Rica, oh, I've only got one day in Costa Rica, where shall I go? A lot of people will say Carrera. Oh, by the way, we just saw a jacamar. We're now watching a white-faced capuchin monkey. Yeah, but this is a classic example of how some places are very difficult to get to if you're reliant on public transport and you're on a budget. There is a drop-off point for the bus, which is true, but then you're kind of limited to just doing the main trails. I tried walking there, which involved walking along a very busy road, which is kind of okay because a lot of people walk along roads in Costa Rica, but it wasn't very pleasant. And this was quite a busy road. Yeah. Anyway, beautiful place. And I agree actually, if you're in Costa Rica for one day, it's definitely up there. I'm kind of torn because I also think La Selva is very good. It depends on how much of a guarantee that you want that you'll see things, and how much you want to have a bit of an explore, and it's a little bit more uncertain. And it also depends on whether you want to stay overnight, in which case I would vote La Selva. So I continued going around. I found a route which worked really well if you're on public transport. And again, go to the website, there's like more stuff about this on there. Which then meant I ended up at Monteverde, a famous place. A lot of it's the cloud forest. We just saw a picture of it. It isn't cloud forest if there's no cloud. Which means some people get disappointed. And also, it's quite high in the mountains. It's over 1,000. It's over 1,000 meters, which is high enough that there's less sunlight. It's less warm. Well, obviously there's as much sunlight, but it's not as warm because you're higher up, which means there's less productivity, less energy going around. So there's not much wildlife to see. But what wildlife there is still amazing. And frankly, there's so much in Costa Rica because it's very equatorial that even higher up you're still seeing a lot compared to a lot of other places. Oh, we're now at Sarapiqui, home of La Selva, the place I was talking about earlier. This is a green and black poison dart frog. Try not to go around licking these, but as long as you don't do that, you should be alright. This is a red lord parrot. And coming up in a moment is a video of a cinnamon woodpecker. One of my highlights of Costa Rica from 2013. I think the woodpeckers are probably one of those highlights. Some really interesting woodpeckers with different plumages and shapes and sizes that I'm not used to seeing. The cinnamon woodpecker being one of those. Look at that amazing kind of chestnutty colour, or I suppose cinnamon colour. And then I also saw these collared peccaries. Definitely, if you go to La Selva, the collared peccaries to be exact, are one of the highlights. They seem to be in and around the accommodation, can be seen fairly easily. However, I did this well, it's not sneaky. What I did was I stayed for one night at La Selva because I was trying really hard to stick to my budget. And by doing that, you can explore the forest on the day that you arrive and the day you leave. So I arrived ridiculously early on the first day. And then on my second day, I left very late, so I was able to get a lot of exploring time in. And the cost of the accommodation was about the same, I think, as if you'd paid like 2-day tickets to get in anyway. So, again, lots more detail on my sort of blog, and there's an upsell there to a book as well. Oh, that was a cocoa wood creeper. That was a bit of a brief view. So then I went to Turrialba. Turrialba, this might be the third place I'm going to mention now, which I think is it's a must visit if you're on a budget and you're into seeing wildlife. I found a number of good walks around here, and it was cheap to get around. And it fits with the others in that it's in a different geographical location, and we're seeing different, so you're seeing different species. This was a female anhinga eating a fish that we just watched there. And in a moment, we're going to see a northern jacuna and young on the same lake. This lake's at Cati, which is a research institute, place, university thing, where they do research into agriculture. So they've got a series of areas where they trial different sorts of agriculture, planting different things with different ways to manage it, and they look at sort of the growth rates and etc. Very interesting. You can just visit to look at that, and you have the second interest that with such a wide variety of habitats, there's lots of birds to see, especially if you get as far as the lake. So then Tapanti, there's a national park here. This is like borderline, it's sort of on a budget, sort of not. There's a family run hotel where you can stay called Kiri Lodge, and from there you can sort of go hiking every day. I would recommend it. Finally, there's a few day walks that you can do if you sort of take the bus early in the morning from the capital of Costa Rica, which San Jose, yes. So for example, you might go to Irazu volcano, which is a popular day trip, and you can get everything that a normal tourist would, as well as experience some wildlife, for example, like coati and things like birds. You might also take a day trip to Poas volcano. Again, you've got everything a normal tourist would have, and then you can explore the montane forest where I saw this spangled-cheeked tanager, and I managed to see about, if I remember rightly, I think it was about another 5 or 6 species. Doesn't sound like many, but they're all sort of specialist high-altitude birds. It was one of the highlights of my 3-month trip in 2013. This is Quetzal National Park. Still, as far as I know, at time of making this video, entry is free. Oh, this is a female resplendent quetzal. I'll be quiet. Go and check out my blog. Lots more information. Hope you enjoyed the video.